participate in initiating activities to address some of the capacity issues affecting economic development in our country. As a consultant for WFP, I was also privileged to travel across the country to assess agriculture value chains and constraints affecting smallholder producers and other actors participating in the development of the agricultural value chains of our country. My experience with the World Bank as a consultant developing Liberia's food security crisis preparedness plan has also exposed me to the harsh reality of our country, that it remains dependent on importation of its main food commodity, thereby exposing us to food security crisis in the face of global shocks. As an assistant professor of agricultural economics, I've also done extensive work on the agricultural economy of our country and realized that the nation is endowed with abundant agricultural resources. However, structural constraints and inadequate management of the sector have resulted to low productivity of the sector and limited the country's ability not just to become self-sufficient in food production, but to support rural transformation. Honorable Senators, those experiences have prepared me over the last few years to be able to adequately manage and administer affairs of the agricultural sector when confirmed by this honorable body as the Minister of Agriculture. To ensure agriculture makes the appropriate impact in the agenda of His Excellency President Joseph Boakai Sr., to ensure that agriculture in the arrest agenda of His Excellency President Joseph Boakai Sr. makes transformative impact on the lives of our people and the economy in general. Your humble nominee, when confirmed, will implement the following activities with the support of our development partner and the Honorable Senate and House of Representatives in supporting projects and programs to transform the lives of our people. In our capacity as Minister of Agriculture, when confirmed, we will strengthen the capacity of the Ministry of Agriculture, the Central Agricultural Research Institute, and all agriculture-related training institutions to give them the opportunity to appropriately administer the sector and conduct research to support agricultural development. Our first action in this line will be to re-establish the University of Liberia Fund. That fund should be used as the model for developing agriculture in Liberia. In this event, we will try to promote agricultural mechanization and improve farmers' access to improved production technology and innovation. As we know, agriculture remains practically subsistent in our country because farmers still use rudimentary tools and equipment for production. Under our administration as Minister of Agriculture for this country, we will ensure that mechanization, as is one of the pillars of His Excellency Joseph Boakai, becomes our key focus. We will also endeavor to strengthen agricultural commodity market and standardize commercialization by the use of standard measurement units. We see our farmers or our marketers sell agricultural commodity using parts. We want to ensure under our leadership that every agricultural market is standardized. When you go to purchase, you should be able to see how you buy a pound of fruit or vegetable or a kilogram. We will also support our farmers to increase production of our country's main staple food crop, rice, and promote commercialization of that value chain to reduce rice importation and promote self-sufficiency in domestic rice production. We will promote and support development of targeted value chains to improve farmers' income and reduce poverty in farming households. In that direction, we intend to focus on developing the cassava value chain along with maize value chain to ensure that farmers who are into production will have a stable source of income. We will also endeavor to promote and support development of the poultry industry as and its associated maize value chain to reduce the cost of poultry and fishery production and increase farmers' income. In Liberia, we all know that poultry is one of the key food commodities that we have, but we still depend on import for its supply to the market. We will also promote and support development of the livestock sector to enhance domestic meat production and improve food and nutrition security and household income. In our capacity as Minister of Agriculture, we will promote and support development of the value chains of targeted food crops to increase domestic production and supply of essential food commodities such as oranges, avocado, and other food crops on the local market. We will promote and support development of targeted cash crops such as cocoa, coffee, cashew nut to enable our farmers to expand their income generation capacity and also enable them raise their livelihood and life standard at the household level. As we are aware, Liberia used to have one of the best varieties of cocoa or coffee in the world, the coffee Liberica. We produced and exported it during the 80s, but today we've lost that variety. Under our leadership at the Ministry of Agriculture, when confirmed, we will ensure that we reintroduce coffee Liberica in our production system to give farmers the opportunity to have alternative source of income generation. Under our stewardship of the Ministry of Agriculture, we will strengthen agricultural extension advisory service delivery to ensure farmers have access to improved agricultural technology and new innovation. Extension is the backbone for agricultural development. But we realize today our extension service delivery system is weak. As a result, farmers live at the mercy of themselves. There is no technical services provided there. So we intend to strengthen agricultural extension services to be able to address the issues that farmers may experience in their field. We will also try to support and promote local value addition in our rubber industry. Rubber is one of the key commodities that we have, but today rubber is exported either as raw form or is semi-processed. What we intend to do is to support local industrial and industrial agents to be able to establish processing plants locally to process rubber. Also, we want to do industrialization of rubber so that farmers can have a fair price for the commodity. Even if you are buying from them as a processor, you should be able to give them the right prices. Distinguished chairman and members of this honorable committee on agriculture, fishery, and forestry, when confirmed, we intend to develop these activities into a national agricultural development plan in the first 100 days of our leadership at the ministry. This plan will be able to allow or engage our donor partners to tell them what we want to do in our agriculture sector and also work with you as honorable representatives and senators of this honorable legislature to be able to solicit the right financial support for the agriculture sector. I thank you, distinguished senators and members of the Committee on Agriculture, Fishery, and Forestry.
Thank you very much. We will now give the senators present the opportunity to engage you. Each senator will be given maximum 10 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Chairman and distinguished colleagues, to the nominee, I sat and listened to your presentation keenly. And if I'm not mistaken, to be one of the experts in the agricultural sector in our country as we speak. Given your experiences and your training, are you assuring us that under your leadership, mechanized farming will be introduced in our country? Yes,
Honorable Senator, I told you that we will mechanize our agriculture sector.
We know, like you rightly put it, agriculture is considered as a low-hanging fruit in terms of growing our economy. In that direction, what are you going to do to help grow the economy, since, in fact, that's one of the low-hanging fruits that we have in terms of developing the economy? What are you going to do in that direction?
We have an agenda that calls for adopting a value chain approach to agricultural development. But that would mean we want to be able to link agricultural production to processing and marketing. So what we have planned to do over the next 5 years will be to look at cassava, for example. Cassava is one of the easier crops to be grown. But the reason why we have not done well with the crop is because of the production method. So what we will be doing will be to organize production groups across the country to be focused on cassava production. What we will do, when we organize this group, we want to be able to provide them mechanization services. If you have 20 cassava producers, each of them doing, say, 5 acres. We can bring 25 farmers together and develop 100 acres of land. Those who will be there, first of all, they will have sustainable source of income. They will produce annually on the same spot. You don't have to go moving from place to place, clearing our bushes and creating more environmental housing. Once we do that for 25 farm household, you are creating economic possibilities for them. You are also going to be using that cassava. If you have 10 of those across the country, we got 25 or 10,000 or 1,000 acres of production. We link that production group to a processing plant. We've already started that process. We are inviting our friends to come in and establish a cassava processing plant where the fresh cassava will be transformed from fresh cassava to starch and other products for export. When that is done, you will have people in the middle there who will be aggregators, buying the fresh cassava from the producers and selling it to the processor. Along that chain, you have created a job for those who are in the production, created a job for those who are going to be in the aggregation, and created income generation possibility for those who will be processing. And when that process is done, the product will be exported. And when the export takes place, it comes in with foreign exchange for the country. So just by looking at one commodity, which will be replicated across commodities like maize or rice, we are going to be creating job opportunities that will lead to further development of our economy.
Okay, so before I conclude, let me take you to the cash crops.
Yeah.
You talk about cocoa and coffee. And like you rightly said, those cash crops are almost fading away as compared to what was happening in the 80s. What plan do you have to ensure that farmers go back to producing, like you said, the Liberian coffee and the cocoa, so that they themselves have a livelihood? Because our soil currently doesn't hold cocoa in some of the places and coffee. What are you going to do to help farmers to move on to great interest in producing cocoa and coffee, since indeed they lack capacity to test the soil to see whether cocoa will grow here or coffee will grow here? And to conclude, have you considered providing or encouraging investors to come to purchase oil palm? Everything we talk about is agriculture, but the market for farmers to take their produce, I don't see it. What are the concessions we have? The concessionaires have parent company abroad, and they ship their oil when they are produced in our country. But the local stakeholders, the local farmers, they do not have a place that, look, when you produce your oil here today, Tomorrow you can get it at this market and it will be sold. They are left to look for buyers, either those that come from neighboring countries like Guinea, Cote d'Ivoire. And because of that, people are now again encouraged to do a lot of palm planting. So we have the soil, but the market for those crops that we want to grow, for them to be sold, we don't see it. And the way we draft our concession laws, it gave the concessionaires no responsibility to cater to the smallholders. We are left to struggle on your own. Even if you struggle, you don't even have the market to sell. I want you to respond to that. It applies to rubber also. If fast food does not set the stage or the price, you will not have rubber sold, and as a result of that, smallholders in the leeward counties sometimes go up getting anything that in their home. 3-4 months, they don't pick up their rubber for sale. Are you looking at alternative measure for farmers in the country, different categories that I just named? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Senator. I will start with the oil palm sector. I have reviewed most of the concessions in the oil palm sector. And this concession agreement called for the establishment of outgrower scheme. These concessions were supposed to be supporting outgrowers in their local community. But we realized that there have been weaknesses in implementation of that component of the agreement. Under our leadership as Minister of Agriculture, we're going to be trying to enforce the outgrower scheme that these concessions agree to. I know, say for example, the golden valerian in the southeast. I read a document that says they were supposed to develop 40,000 hectares for smallholder farmers as outgrower participating in the outgrower scheme. That has not happened for farmers. So when that happens, once the outgrower are supported by the company, then there will be the market for those smallholder producers. They will buy the outgrower and process it for whatever exploitation you do. So when we ensure that that is done, the same will happen for the rubber sector. I know we have a major concession here in the rubber sector that have been here for years. I know they did provide some support for smallholder producers in the rubber sector, but I intend to work with the Rural Federal Association to understand from that perspective what are some of the challenges. Even though I have done some work myself and understood some of the challenges. I know recently there was an executive order that was issued, that have been issued, and I think that would be canceled, so that local producers of rubber will have fair prices for their commodity. We will establish or encourage the establishment of a rubber processing plant. In fact, we've been talking to some investors who want to come and establish that plant, but we want to work with the Federal Association to ensure that indigenous Liberians will establish and manage a processing plant that will transform the litters to only clear speed before they get exported, or add some value locally. If that happens, then those rural producers who are growing their rubber locally can have fair prices, because additional demand will be created when these processing facilities are constructed locally. That will help them to earn some money for themselves, or better income for themselves. For the coffee, I know there have been some soil mapping done across the country, and it still exists, and still true today. Part of our country, like Monrovia, Lima, and some parts of Magiri, coffee does well. The fact that we've identified some of this area, we are going to be coming with a tailored program and project that will encourage our local farmers to get back into coffee production. We will find the appropriate incentive. If it means provide some grant and all support to them, we'll do that. But then we will also ensure that there is a market for their product. But that we will encourage people to get into small agro processing and even large agro processing. I was surprised by a friend of mine from Senegal. Senegal was never a coffee producer, and they don't even produce coffee, but they have a brand of coffee that we used to have here. They process it, fine, and make money out of it. So what we will try to do on our leadership will be, when we motivate our farmers to get into production of this crop, we will ensure that we link them to investors who will come here and focus on the processing. They will focus on production, but the investors should focus on processing to be able to encourage them to continue to produce because there will be a market for what they produce.
Yeah, thank you. Very good. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. I call my name. My name is Chairman. As a start, do you have a farm?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Your farm is in which sector?
I grow rice. I have a rice brand called Taco Rice. I also grow the Taco Black Rice. That black rice is actually suitable rice for diabetes and others who have some health issues. And I also grow a little bit of poultry in Monrovia County.
Okay. In your presentation, you said you are agroeconomic.
Yes.
From your technical assessment, what do you think are the key factors that really hinder the growth of agriculture in Nigeria?
Thank you, Honorable Senator. You know, first and foremost, I will look at infrastructure. Infrastructure in the form of road that provide access to market really grossly underdeveloped in our country. So the infrastructure associated with irrigation, for example, are supposed to support around year production, say of rice or some other vegetable, is underdeveloped. So I remember having this conversation with His Excellency the President, then Senator. He was telling me how in the 80s, places like Foya, Benby, you know, were all production sites because of the irrigation facility that they had. Today we don't have this infrastructure in place. They are all destroyed or dilapidated. The next thing that is a key concern or constraint to the sector is access to finance. Agriculture will not perform well in the absence of credit. You know, our commercial banks have their own model, but agriculture as a sector is different from all other businesses. And because most of our commercial banks are afraid of the risks associated with agriculture, they scare away or they avoid giving credit to those who want to get into agriculture. So financing has become one of the critical constraints of our sector. Another thing that is a constraint, and I think, is technology.
Go ahead.
Yeah, technology and production technique. We need to improve on our method of production and technology.
You know, you talk about mechanization.
Yes.
As a Liberian, I know you are aware that originally our agricultural activities have been subsistent. Now, Liberians are really wishing to graduate from subsistence farming to mechanization. Why do you think it's a link? I don't see, because you talk about going to mechanization. Why take them there? I don't see you providing a way that we graduate them from subsistence to mechanization.
Honorable Senator, I think in response to one of the questions, I said we are going to be forming cooperative producers. What we will do with these producers cooperative will be to support them with mechanization equipment. So what we have started doing, and is also already happening, is to try to establish missionary hubs. We will have designated centers across the production zones of this country where we will take agricultural machinery and place them there. In fact, right now on the World Bank project, they have procured some equipment, and my understanding is those equipments are currently carried to be used to support mechanization. So if we were to establish our production site with these cooperatives, say we got 10 cooperatives producing cassava on 100 acres each, we will be able to use the machines, the machinery that we acquire, to use them for the land preparation for the food production year. After the food production year, as these producers tend to earn more income, they will be able to buy the little machines that they need by themselves to support the mechanization.
How do you get all that money to support it?
We are going to adopt a PPP approach. It's not going to be government that will do everything, because sometimes government may not be perfect at handling everything. So we've already started negotiation with some of our private friends who want to come and do investment in that area. They will provide the machinery. We will hire the services to perform what we want to do for them and pay them. That means they will be responsible for servicing and doing everything. Then the farmers themselves, as they start to produce and sell, they will be able to foot the bill of location.
You talk about GVL. I'm from a region where GVL is.
Yes.
I'm from very crude.
Yeah.
GVL agreement talks about World Bank providing the money for the outgrow program, and you, Minister of Agriculture, on the IMCC, is responsible to guide these agreements. Are you planning to revisit those agreements, to redirect them? Because GVL is taking refuge, is taking excuse in World Bank providing the money, and World Bank is not providing money so they can support the outgrow program.
Yeah,
Can those agreements be revisited?
that's why we said we will be suggesting to the honorable bodies that are responsible for ratifying some of this agreement to revisit and show that the terms and conditions of the agreement are adhered to. Whatever we need to do on our part as facilitators, we will ensure that those are done so that when these projects or these agreements are implemented, our people will have the impact that is desired from these concessions.
Okay, one key factor that I want to also talk about is, henceforth, from your end, whenever these agreements, especially investments that will come in the sector, when the agreements are being crafted, let us don't forget about added value chain. Please process at a certain level before you export. Because exporting these raw materials gives us nothing. No obligation to our people, no employment opportunity because they are doing it only exporting the raw form, so more employment that is supposed to provide, they don't do that. Honor your watch, henceforth, I want you to ensure that every time agreement is crafted, let us not forget about added value chain. Mr. Chairman, I yield all the time.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for your refinement. Congratulations again. Okay, to the point. The President of the Republic spoke about arrest. In the arrest, at the beginning is agriculture. And now, in our county, back home, there's a question and maybe a comment. In our county back home, we have one of the rich land in minerals. The managing director of FDA, they are trying to take almost all the land for us for protection. They want to reserve the lands because of, I don't know what they know.
Sir.
And we are talking about agriculture. How do you think the people of Babolo will survive in this agricultural issue where almost all the land will be taken to be reserved?
Thank you, Honorable Senator.
Yeah.
You know, conservation is one of the key aspects of development right now. But I know there are always agricultural land and forest land that can be conserved. So in our development agenda, we're going to be looking at Babolo as one of the counties that is critical to agricultural production in this country. In fact, recently I was talking with the the Cassava Farmer Association. And Babolo is one of those counties that they identified that we can do massive cassava production there and provide sustainable livelihood source for the people. So what we're going to be doing, while we will support the drive for conservation, we will also ensure that agricultural land are properly utilized to create income for our farmers and also enable us to produce the food that we eat and the other commodities that are necessary for economic development.
I hope you do it faster. No, okay. When you are confirmed, I hope you take that stand because the county I'm talking about will be having about 5 reserve forests. 5. So we don't know where we are going to. Reserving the forest while we are hungry or what? We don't know. So as the minister Designate to be confirmed, I hope you look at Babolo to be one of your priorities. Thank you.
Thank you, Master.
Thank you very much,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Sir Joseph Amos.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Honorable Minister. You have been around for a very long time, working in the partners, working with government. You have served in the international partners, you served with the government as well. What new are you bringing on the table? Different from what you have served during your service?
You know, like I said in my opening statement, I began my professional career in the public sector.
We have 10 minutes of conversation, so let me shut up.
Okay, professional career in the public sector in Liberia before I went international. I'm coming back now after acquiring skills and experiences from other countries that are involved in agricultural development. So I'm coming back to the public sector with vast experience from other countries that I intend to use in developing our economy and our country and the people of this country.
Looking at donor fatigue towards agriculture, in the past years, more than 500 million have been spent on agriculture, and no difference. And I think in some of those capacity, you have to implement some of those programs. Do you, based on your past work and your present work, do you have additional commitment when you are serving as a Minister of Agriculture? Do you have commitment from donors to support your sector?
Yes, Honorable, let me agree with you on the amount of resources that have gone to the sector from donor organization. In fact, I'm currently working on something. I was just trying to review the agriculture projects that have been implemented in this country from 2010 to 2020. I looked at 20 projects, and surprisingly, I realized that these 20 projects have spent $685.19 billion US and 29.5 million euros in the agricultural sector between 2010 and 2020. When I look at this report that I compare myself, I feel obligated as Minister Designate to ensure when confirmed that donor spending in the sector will make the appropriate impact. So what I put on my plate will be to review the current donor-funded projects in the sector so that we can ensure that the modality of implementation will be one that makes the appropriate impact on the economy. Agriculture on our watch will not be the way it has been done. Donor projects that will be implemented in this country must have the impact and the desire. This is why before we engage a donor, we're given our plan. We have our own plan. We will fit into what we want to do in this country in the agriculture sector instead of you coming to us and saying, this is what I want to do. When we design our project internally and they support it, it will make impact. Only they driving, you will be driving instead of they driving.
Okay, so we have hope that you're going to raise some money, right?
We got some commitment from friends and other people that will be supporting us.
Now, I see here, you implemented a program of 30 million from the African Development Bank. If you look at your documents then. Was there 30 million funding coming from the national government during the COVID period? Or is it a different 30 million?
No, I did not implement, but I helped to write that proposal.
Okay.
The African Development Bank hired me as a consultant to write the project proposal for them. And that project proposal was basically $30 million from the GAV facility to support agricultural activities.
So what was the focus country for that project and focus organization?
The Ministry of Agriculture was the one to be implementing partner or the implementer, and it actually focused on 11 counties of this country that were involved with rice production and all of value chains of critical importance to our economy.
So, do you really think that from the proposals that you wrote and 30 million was generated, do you think that we can still see that mark of the project, of the 30 million?
Always said that I did not say that the money was made available, but I wrote the project. So the fact that I don't work for the Ministry of Agriculture at the time I wrote that project, and I have not been working for them, I can't tell you whether that money has been.
So were you hired to run the project?
Yeah, no, not to run, but to write the project. I was hired by the African Development Bank as a consultant to help develop that project proposal.
Okay, so also you work with the World Bank. Well, there's no World Bank yet, the World Food Program.
Yes.
And there was funding provided during the COVID period.
Yeah.
Of implementation of a feeding program. Did you implement that particular project as a supervisor for the WFP in Liberia?
At the time of the COVID, I was not actually the staff of the WFP. At that time, I was working for UCIT. So I was not part of the WFP at the time of the COVID.
What was the project? The project was 2020.
2020, yeah. And 2020 and 2019, 2020,
It's 2020, 2021, and then by then you are implementing for the WFP. And the WFP received that money to implement that project to make sure that our parents are fair. 30 million United States dollars, the government, and the legislature approved. And you were working as a focus person for the World Food Program.
No, sir, I did not mention that in the city.
It's right here.
What did you say, sir?
You can look at it. Please, somebody get in so you can look at it. The third page.
Okay. I see here August 1st, 2021 to 30 September 2021, livelihood consultant, WFP. Then October 1st, 2021 to July 7, 2022, value chain and food system expert, WFP. So the COVID-19 actually was in 2020 when I was not with the WFP.
But the implementation went up to 2021.
No, Chief, as a livelihood consultant, I was not responsible for implementing food that food distribution thing.
What do you know and as what do you think? Yeah, give me a chance. What do you think about that implementation? Was it the right decision by national government and approved by the legislature to approve 30 million as an agriculture expert to feed the people, and then implemented by the WFP, and also like up to 10 million was used for administrative costs. So do you think was the right decision by the national government and the legislature? I'm asking this question because you are now going to be serving, and you served in those capacities in the past. What decisions do you make in the future?
Yeah, I would say that, I cannot question the wisdom of the government at the time they made a decision. And although at the time they made a decision, they may have done all of the necessary assessment and analysis to see that that was the right decision at the time. When it comes to whether it had a requisite impact or not, I have not done any assessment about the bill of judgment also. So, yeah, I think it was the wisdom of the government that made that decision.
So if you have 30 million today by a donor partner, comparing to what was given for just distribution, what will you do for this nation?
Thank you. And I wish I would have that, those 30 million. If you give me 30 million right now, I'm going to ensure that I develop 10,000 acres of cassava farm to produce fresh cassava. I will develop the first 5,000 acres of maize farm to grow corn, to produce feed for our poultry industry. I will make sure that I put 5,000 farmers into vegetable production as income resource. That's how I will spend it.
So with those connections you're coming up with, can you ask any of your donors to support that particular project?
Yes,
as indicated by you now.
I have started actually having conversations with some of the key donors. Maybe German friendship, not in my capacity as Designate, but some of them want to see the plans that we have for the agriculture sector. And some of them are excited about what we want to do. So I'm sure when you confront us as minister proper of this sector, we'll be able to work with our international partners who are willing and prepared to support the sector, and also some friendly countries that will provide necessary support.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you.
Speaker Keller? Yeah, Speaker? Yeah, after the oh, you ready? You run the house and make it. You're from the in the business.
Speaker, you're scared of protest?
You're a farmer. Now my colleague, we are colleagues.
Thank you, Minister Doc. Yeah, I'm a farmer. One of the biggest, in fact, the biggest farmer in Grand Bassa County. 3,000 acres we're developing in cocoa, 650 acres we got planted in rubber. So,
asset declaration.
All that. Okay, I will remove it from there. Let me thank you, Doc, distinguished colleagues. Doc, the sector is an economic-driven sector. Should be creating jobs. Should be, and that's why I say should be. Now, you're coming to be the Minister of Agriculture. You talk about if you have 30 million, you will develop 10,000 acres. I know it'll probably be saying mechanized. 5,000 acres mechanized. But the core of the matter is those farmers who, rural dwellers who have 5, 6 acres, or 10 acres that they want to develop. I'm in tree crop. We are having a difficult time in terms of finding laborers, people to work on the farm. I don't know, I haven't had time to peruse your CV. I know that you have a PhD. I would like to know what area of speciality you have, what you get your PhD on. Just one sentence. I'm sorry I came a little bit late.
PhD in agricultural economics.
With emphasis on
productivity analysis.
Okay, thank you. Now that leads me to the question that I really want you to give me an insight of how you see it in terms of small farmers to hire workers. You're talking about 5,000 vegetable farmers. How do you see the job market in the agricultural sector? Because you're talking about productivity, that's your area.
Thank you, Honorable Senator. You know, unfortunately, I'm also a farmer. I do smallholder farming myself. I tried to develop 15 acres of lowland for rice production. I also tried to do 25 acres of cocoa in my DB county. So I understand the cost of labor. When I started 2 years ago as a farmer, I was paid $300 for half a day for farmers to work on the farm. 2 years later, I had to pay $500 for the same amount of labor. So I know there is high cost associated with production and agricultural activities. This is the reason why we want to ensure that we introduce mechanization in our production system. By mechanization, you will be able to create jobs in a different way for the youth that we are hiring now. In fact, you hardly find them work anymore because they have found alternative means of generating income outside of agriculture. So to be able to get the smallholder farmers to produce, we are going to be encouraging cooperative system. Maybe you are a smallholder farmer growing rice. We want to encourage you, and this is where we'll be working with land authority and the national county leadership and legislature to be able to identify land that we can allow farmers to get together, and we support them through the provision of mechanization services. So if we have 25 farmers, like I said earlier, who are, maybe we know our average smallholder farm size is 4 acres, we bring them together on 100 acres of land. That way, we will be providing the land preparation services for them for the first production year, and let them do that. And when you do that, you'll be creating also opportunity for young people who want to get into agriculture, but they are afraid of the high labor. They'll be motivated to get into agriculture. And what we have always talked of, and the president is passionate about this, is to be able to strengthen our institutions, our technical institutions, to train our young people in the operation of these small farm machines that they can use as a source of income generation. So if you need to do mechanization, you have these young people trained to operate the machines, you can find jobs.
And Mr. Designate, thank you. You know, I know the PhDs have the way of addressing things, but I think you give me 10 minutes. So you're eating up almost all my 10 minutes. But what I you're taking it 2 minutes. I've just spoken for 2 minutes. Mr. Chairman, it's not distracting me. So I think so, Mr. Nominee, on a very serious note, I was just joking just now. But do you propose an increment for agricultural workers? Yes or no? What do you think they should be paid?
For concession.
Well,
On my farm? I know where I'm going because it's becoming more and more difficult. Okay, let me put it this way. Will you accept the fact that we can do profit sharing? Is that something you can think about? I'm not saying here now, I mean, but for you to be able to address productivity, production in the agricultural sector, where we cannot find young people to go into the labor force in the interior. How do we attract the young people to the sector? And mechanize, yes, but I don't want to leave my village to come to a place where the government have secured 100 acres or 1,000 acres. I want to stay in my village and be able to produce my 1 bag or 2 bags of pepper. by myself. And you have a lot of those people there. So one of the things is, either you talk about, for us, some of us are looking at the possibility of different model of profit sharing, one. Two, what about commodity pricing? Are those things, because I bring my pepper from, let's say, Slowtown. I walk 2 on my head to Bon County, bring it to Monrovia, transportation another $2,000, $3,000 Nigerian dollars. And I have to sell it for $6,000, I got $3,000, 100% profit. But that 100% profit is not a profit because I still got to pay my way back. So by the time I get back, it's $6,000 it costs me to bring one bag of pepper to Monrovia. So I mean, are you looking at these, not are you, but if you are confirmed, will you be looking at these kinds of issues? Because the whole issue is to improve the lives of the people in the sector, the farmers. Their income is low. I mean, those of us who have rubber farm, palm farm, cocoa farm, we're struggling. We're struggling with the price. 1 ton of rubber right now is about $1,800, but we still pay $400 and something dollars. I mean, we still sell our rubber for $400 and something dollars, which the production cost for chrome rubber SRT 20 or SRT 10, if you can produce it, is around $900. So Firestone is making somewhere around $700 a ton. What are those things? Are you concerned about those issues?
Yes, Honorable Senator. You know, in our development agenda for the sector, there are 2 things that we put in there, or 2 things we're thinking about that could address your concerns. The first thing is the mindset of our young people. We've suggested here that we'll be developing in the first 100 days the National Agricultural Development Plan. And one of the pillars in there is to change the mindset of the young people towards agriculture. And how we're going to be doing that will be those who are willing to stay and become smallholder farmers, we should provide the appropriate market for them to be able to produce and sell and earn an income. We will do that. We will also be able to facilitate their production capacity or their production strength. When we do that, we encourage them in the production. And one means will also be introduction of this mechanization scheme that will enable them to produce without the usual high labor associated with agriculture. The second thing that you just talked about is the agricultural commodity market, the prices. We know that there are always fluctuations in the prices of agricultural commodities, but most often we realize that the producers are at a disadvantage. So, at the Ministry of Agriculture, there is a department of planning. There is also a division in that department that is responsible for price analysis. So, what we're going to be doing as an institution will be to ensure that we work with all of the institutions that are responsible for monitoring prices in the country to do the better assessment of prices and ensure we regulate the prices that producers will receive and buyer will pay.
Senator, there are 2 minutes of
I'm done. I'm done already. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
It's my turn. I'll go again. 1 minute time. Mr. Dominic, at NEATAH, let me say congratulations to your assignment. Mine will be very fast if you will allow us to do that. I talk about cooperatives being on plan. We have cooperatives in Liberia before. In fact, we have a cooperative development agency, and everything has gone down, almost on air. What will be the new methodology? I keep hearing cooperative. How are you going to do it differently? That's my first question.
Well, we are first going to ensure that the CDA that is responsible for managing cooperatives across the country is made more efficient and effective in the discharge of their responsibility. To do that, we're going to ensure that maybe the appropriate recommendations are made for the recruitment of people who will serve in that. We will also ensure on our side as the Ministry of Agriculture to ensure that those farmer cooperatives that will be under the umbrella of the CDA are properly governed. Because the reason why most of them have failed is because of lack of government or ineffective government at the cooperative itself. So we'll make sure we train their capacity to govern well by giving them extra training if they have to, because if we cannot govern well, we cannot be effective. And cooperatives across the country or across the world are the ones that are driving agricultural development right now.
So let me ask you a more direct question.
Yeah.
Are you going to support farmers by not only providing implements, but the access to capital to massive mass production so as to create employment?
Yes, access to finance is a critical issue. So in our plan, we intend to actually establish an agriculture and industrial development plan. That's part of our plan. And I think His Excellency the President is very supportive of that. So all we'll be doing will be to work with you at the Honorable Legislature to be able to find the appropriate partnership that will help us establish that development bank to support agriculture.
As I understand it, fishery is part of agriculture. Do you support a donor-driven fishery sector or a commercial-driven one?
I think for me, the fishery sector is an income-generating sector of this economy. So I would prefer or lean more towards commercialization. We want to have commercial investment in there with some donor support.
Or we are suggesting to strengthen our sector in terms of commercial licensing.
Well, there are existing concessions or companies that are in the fishery sector. We need to assess their capacity and ensure that those who are involved in the sector have the appropriate capacity to operate in there. And yes, fisheries, like I said, it's not just what we do in the ocean. The ocean, marine fishery is just one aspect of it. We want to make fishery as an economic, sector that will be income generating for the farmer. So we will be supporting specifically inland fishery to aquaculture development. We want to ensure that we have some of our donor partners supporting us in the development of inland fishing. This is like the southeast where they have abundant capacity and some other areas. So yeah, aquaculture will be a focus, mainly looking at commercialization.
All right. My last point would be I heard you talk about cash crop, cooperatives, and like, I didn't hear anything about animal husbandry, livestock, and what have you.
Okay, maybe it may have been on our side, but I spoke about in our plan, we are also targeting livestock development. We know in this country we've identified 15 different ranches across the country through our research. What we intend to do after confirmation will be to reactivate those ranches, restock them. We know this country has over 120,000 hectares of grazing land, and one of them are in the southeast. We want to be able to get part of production back to the forefront. So as part of our plan, we are going to be doing a regional assessment to see the different potential of our country so that each county will be able to say, well, I'm good at this, I can do this. Those counties that are good at livestock production, we will expand production. And in fact, we know in Grand Cape and we can do sheep, we can do goats. In the southeast, we can do the material cattle. In the southeast has been one of the best breeds. So we can expand production of that. And also we talk about poultry production. Poultry is part of livestock, so we want to support poultry production and expand their production in the country. So we're going to be focusing also on livestock.
So lastly, do you think you'll be confirmed?
I am hopeful and certain that I will be confirmed by this Honorable Senate.
Okay, thank you, Yamako. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I understand everything. If you want to confuse, you don't mind everything. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Nominee, fellow senators, ladies and gentlemen. I've been perusing your CV since I got it a few minutes ago. I want to ask you a direct question. Did you do this CV yourself or you asked somebody to do for you?
I did it myself, sir.
Okay. The reason why I asked, the narrative appears to me that somebody did it. But if you did it yourself, it's fine. We'll get to something. You say you graduated from a university in China. I see two data, just in clarity, kind of confused. I see that this degree was granted on the 15th of June 2002. I see another document saying this degree was granted on the 25th of July 2012. I see 2012, 15th day of June, I see 2012, 25th day of July. I see two. His credentials. So, no. So I wanted to know as to whether I'm missing something out. Did you have the degree? Was it conferred on you twice? State University?
Well, I don't remember. I'm not sure what I'm hearing from the Senator. I know that I got my PhD in 2012, and I got my master's degree in 2008, and I got my bachelor's degree in 2003.
So here, the document is here.
No.
Okay, that's why I asked if you really did this document. I mean, like you said, I'm a security man, I do critical analysis. Okay, sure. So you might need to correct that. You might need to correct that. Having said that, I didn't see any link towards the university. We may want to check the degree. So we may need the link.
Okay.
We may want to check the degree.
Okay.
Thank you. My next concept has to do with, are you ready to do a drug test as a minister?
Yes.
Because you know the president has pronounced that we have to make this country drugs free. Those of you who are in the executive, we got to start with people first, they start with all the areas. So we might ask you for drug tests in the future.
I am willing to do that.
Thank you so much. Now, in your CV, you had a very wonderful consultancy with the ECOWAS. That was November 21, 2001. November 24th, March 31st, 2001. As a consultant, you were asked to develop food security storage. But in your presentation to us as ministers of Designate for Agriculture, I heard nothing about food storage. Now, I'm a farmer myself, just for information. I'm a farmer. I do rice farming myself in Lofa County. And many times I produce my rice, storage has been a problem. So I didn't see you after consulting with ECOWAS, but then you did not put it into your narrative that you will help us as Liberia to store our products after harvest. Do you want to speak to that?
Yes, sir. Okay, one of the items of my agenda is to reduce post-harvest loss and enhance post-harvest management. So if you do that, you do it through the construction of storage facilities and giving the appropriate technologies. Yes, so post-harvest management is going to be a key component of our development for agriculture.
I spoke about it because I help you. You did not put it in your presentation, so you meant to add that.
I have the presentation here that I didn't share with you. That's why I did from. So my CV, I didn't put it in that CV that I will do. So the presentation here, I have it.
Okay, so I know time is fast spent. So my last question will be on when we were coming up low fat to be specific, Bone County used to be the breadbasket for Liberia. Neighbors were, but low fat took the lead, if as Stephen is corrected, during those years. Now we saw institutions like the LPMC, generally speaking, and we saw institutions like SADP, that was supported by the World Bank, PCADP, supported by the World Bank. You have done some extensive work in the international community. Do you have what it takes to talk to the international partners who can reintroduce those institutions?
Okay, we may not replicate the ACADPs that we just talked about, you just mentioned, but we can actually come up with different institutions that will do the same work that they did. So if you keep checking our agenda, we are talking about supporting tree crop sector, focusing on cocoa, coffee, and in fact introducing cashew nut production, expanding cashew nut production in the economy. To do that, we will need some tailored programs that will support farmers to realize these goals. So if we speak to our partners, we will be developing specific tree crop support projects that will help the farmers. It may not be the name that we just mentioned, because in the 80s, when these projects were brought on board, they had specific targets to achieve. And they did achieve those, even though they got watered down during our period of crisis. For LPMC, we know LPMC has been transformed into a regulatory body called LACRA, the Liberia Agricultural Commodity Regulatory Authority. So we are not thinking about an LPMC as it used to be, but we have new projects and programs that will do similar things that they did in the past. That will still support our public development initiative.
Finally, Mr. Navi, you spoke very well about the issue of access to finance for farmers. Again, many years back, we had the Agricultural Development Bank here. Do you have any intent to talk to the banking sector to see whether we can re-establish the agricultural bank? Because, like you said, most of the commercial banks are kind of hesitant to give loan to farmers because of the durability of their produce and products. So, do you have any intent, as minister, for you to enhance your work and make sure that you can, serve the Liberian people well in that position of Minister of Finance? Do you have any intent talking to the Liberian Liberian Banking Association to see whether we can re-establish the agricultural bank?
So, like I said, part of our plan for the agricultural sector is to have a specialized financial institution that will support agriculture credit. We started some negotiation or conversation with some firms that will be able to establish that entity. It's not going to be what we had before, because I remember when I was in government in 2012, there was this assessment done of the former agricultural and forestry development bank. We realized that that bank has some liabilities, so you cannot resuscitate it as it is. Then you have to acquire the liabilities. So the conversation with the president is to see if we can get appropriate support to have a new institution that will perform the role of providing appropriate credit facility for our agricultural sector. And that conversation has already begun, and we are hopeful that it will go through and through the legislature will be helpful in that process.
Okay, Mr. Dominic, I wish you all the best endeavors.
Senator Snow.
Thank you.
She got a hotel.
I'm away from a phone.
You vote yes. Well, you thought you vote yes. So you have a chance. You not many thought you go who you vote yes. You got no choice. Are you a motion in there? So Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Nominee, your CV is impressive. I know of you, and I think you understand the business you've been asked, or the responsibility you've been asked to perform. But notwithstanding, allow me to perform my legislative oversight by asking you a few questions. I'm happy you talk about the outgrow food, but you know, the issue is most times when public officials come here, apparently they say we go in there and we tell them all the things they want to hear. But when it comes to implementation, there's a different issue. The outgrower program today in Liberia, if it's respected, will be going far in the agriculture sector, be it in the rubber industry or the oil palm industry. The outgrower program has not been respected, and I hope that you spoke about it. The question from Senator Mori, you spoke about it, so I wouldn't go backward, but I want to encourage you to push for the outgrower program. Especially, I would place emphasis on Bomi County that I represent. Manu plantation, for example. We have Saint David, the left, Manu is there. Every day, Manu plantation in conflict with our people in the nearby villages and towns. On ground that we were harvesting the oil. Whether it's true, whether it's false, it's not an issue. But if Manu plantation we're going to invest, or even send them, invest in the outgrower program. So for example, there's a town close to the Manu plantation called Besa. They've encroached on some of the people's land there. So they're always in conflict with people. But if the same Manu were to tell the people in Besa, we give you the equipment, we give you the tool, we give you everything, we give you the seedling. Here is 50 acres. Go and develop 50 acres. And every time you harvest, you sell to us. And then we will prorate it, and you pay over a period. And do it into several towns and villages. The agricultural sector will boom, and the issue of people theft and all these things will be cut down. So I hope when you take over, you will look at the outgrower program, because I think it's good for the middle class and create middle class. Now, when you, in other countries, which you know, in Ghana, in Ivory Coast, some of the richest people in those countries are farmers. In Liberia, some of the poorest people in Liberia are farmers. One bag of NPK 15-15-50 is sold in Liberia for almost $60. The same NPK 15-15 is sold in Guinea for $35-40. It's even cheaper in Ghana. So either the tariff in Liberia is too high, or there's no passion for agriculture. It's just lip service. There's no successful Liberian farmer today that don't owe a bank, or they are having challenges in running their farm. So I actually want to encourage you, Mr. Minister, to look at some of those things. There have been executive order on waiving taxes on farming equipment, fertilizer, but still the price high. The price of fertilizer in Sierra Leone is cheaper than the price of fertilizer in Liberia. But the same country coming from, other than Ukraine got problem, so other than Morocco or Spain, Belgium, same quality, but Liberia, it just Gold Coast us. Everything they have. So I hope you will look in that direction. The other thing I want to talk about, the past administration. I agree that the CDC-led government may not have been the best. For accuracy, fine. But one credit I would give that government is that they either funded or sourced a lot of funding for the agriculture sector. But little or nothing was running that sector. When the last minister was appointed, the whole country was happy. The minister got arrested in the supermarket. The minister got arrested found coming to our own rights. The only thing that happened to that nomination was that the minister sold more rice in the supermarket. But farmers, nothing happened, nothing substantial happened. And I'm still corrected, but I was co-chair on the agricultural committee in the Senate at the time. So I'm aware that nothing serious happened in the sector. The only thing we saw, and I just found out you were one of the consultants, there was a list of consultants. So as the money came in, they all went to consultants, most of whom with similar and familiar last names in that sector. So, Mr. Minister, I'm appealing to you. Please, put the money in the soil. Don't go look for consultants. Don't go around in one country, every village that you find one consultant that you bring and go. Let's put the money in the soil. And I honestly believe that you will make a difference. I don't know why, but something tells me because your government, the president have made two everything. And after 2029, I'm sure that people were joshing, if we didn't josh in the whole country, we were joshing on two things. The job of agriculture, the job of road. So if President Buerta sent us, anybody else here, you say you're very president, we're not going to road hard. But he sent a wrong, he sent capital of the agriculture minister, and he will fail. Because he has showed the Liberian people that the two things, the everything, you know, you start fishing all around there and say, I want to succeed, so I'm going to do that one, I'm going to do that one. You stretch the autobus, you may not catch everything. But he told us road and agriculture. He said the 500 days, no car, you know, 500 days will be crisis in the state. But he said no car will issue. But the agriculture sector, we are very concerned about the agriculture sector. Then I'm happy also happy that you talked about the agricultural right, the agricultural cooperative development. And it's good that you mentioned that because of the liabilities and everything else, there will be new. It's seen happening in other countries. Mr. Nominee, agriculture loan in Liberia is 14% interest rate on declining values. 14%. Somebody gave you loan, agriculture loan for 1 year. Your crop is ready in 36 months. And they gave you loan for 12 months and you start paying on that loan at 14% interest rate. There is no way we can succeed. There's no way. But you got companies like, I mentioned yesterday, one company they call for one, they get bringing agro oil in the ship. They put in their tank, they empty in the barrel, they get incentive. Mano plantation, that they see incentive, they bring their own agro oil to sell for one day. They got palm farm, but they bring in the agro oil and selling it with duty-free privilege. They bring in the fertilizer and sell getting duty-free on it. But the small farmers, we gotta go and buy the fertilizer for $60. We gotta go and pay the farmers. And I speak as a farmer and I'm very passionate about it. So Mr. Nominee, you may answer if you wish to, but I'm just appealing to you. Please change the narrative. There is no reason why we cannot feed ourselves. There's no reason. We got rainfall. We got vast land. We got everything. We got rivers. We got, either we just listen or we just go on the day when we're all dependent on our rest. Say, well, fire so pretty for our rest. No. We killed president in this country for rights. We still can't grow rights. We still can't grow rights. So, Mr. Nominee, you can answer me if you want to. You can respond if you want to. It's up to you. Whether you respond, you don't respond. Whenever this committee brings the report on the floor, I, every level school junior, will vote for you for this position. But please don't disappoint us. Please don't disappoint us because you have my vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Senator. Let me just speak briefly.
I'm also a farmer.
And that's 2 years now. Let's take for president. Councilor, coming to you.
Thank you very much.
Councilor, I'm general sensitive.
Give me your time, please. It's not my time, it's yours. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for giving me the opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Luthor, for an excellent presentation. As I follow through some of the issues I heard earlier already addressed about, like Honorable Snow mentioned, the access to funding in the sector. That's a key issue that is really, really killing farmers. Because you need funding just to do about everything they were producing. Without funding, we'll continue to be subsistent farmers, which does not really create the kind of economy that you envisage as you mentioned. However, I like to look at the sector, not like Honorable Snow that is doing palm farming, which is good too. But how can Liberia feed itself? Producing what we can eat, producing what we can price for ourselves, because if I don't eat it, my neighbor will buy it. And that is looking at rice production and looking at poultry production. Today, you go to the most remote part of Liberia, you will see imported products, poultry products. I know back in the days, in the late 70s, 80s, there were 3 major farmers that fed Liberia. Bacon, Sanye, Bright, they produced poultry products that fed this country. I am looking at how can we go back to empowering farmers to ensure that we don't continue to import poultry products on the market. Because by doing that, you create the jobs, at the same time, you create wealth. And having access to food, and not just any kind of food, but organic food for the health of this nation. How do you look at that? Because all of the opportunities, like what Honorable Snow mentioned, money coming in the country and going back to the pockets of consultants, and not reaching to the actual farmers who are struggling with their farming. How can we do that? I also listen to you, and I'm happy that you have experience in farming. You are a rice producer, you are also in poultry farming. You have spoken about accessing funding from donors, which have been the case in the past. Millions of dollars have been coming. But in my understanding from the co-chair, the past co-chair on the committee for agriculture, the monies were misdirected. How are you going to manage the issue of conflict of interest when you yourself are a farmer? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I think the issue of donor funding is critical. I will just speak about it. I will just speak about it and go ahead to answer the question. You know, incentive to agro importers, I believe personally, has to be reviewed. My personal experience in the sector is that even though these people have the incentive, it does not impact the prices that we pay on the local market. I have a personal experience with one of the vendors whom I went and asked for a specific farming tool. The price he gave me on the local market, even though he has the incentive, was somewhere around $60,000 for them, $80,000, $100,000 for a bulldozer. Then I asked a company outside of the country that could supply it to Liberia and deliver it at CIF value. That CIF value was around $60,000. That tells me that there is some level of expectation of our farmers because the incentives are being provided, but we do not benefit from that. So we will be doing a complete review of the incentive process for the agriculture sector, and I think the Honorable Legislator will be very supportive in that process. We want to make sure those incentives that are being granted will have the impact on our people. The board senator talked about donor partners. And I think 2 days ago, before even my confirmation hearing, I saw some tender in the newspaper. What I saw, most of what was being put out there were consultancy services. I personally have heard of that, and I have told them to put a stop to it. Because, you know, the funding that comes into this country, it is true. The way we apply them in the sector will not allow us to have the impact that we desire. So we are going to be making sure that every dollar and cent that will be provided through donor funding. Because some of the fundings are actually credit, IDA credits. We'll still pay them back. It's not free money. We must be able to give them a plan that this is how we're going to spend our money. We don't need a lot of consultants anymore. We've done a lot. Let's get back to implementation. I think that would be the focus. For the poultry industry, Madam, you are right about that. Poultry is key. But one of the reasons why we are still importing poultry and poultry products, and our farmers are not expanding production of this area, is the cost of production. If you are growing poultry, say you are growing layers, the cost of producing egg is so high that you cannot even break even. Personal experience in the sector, I grow 60 layers. To feed the 60 layers, I spend $80 in 10 days to feed them. At the same time, I only produce 1 carton of egg that I sell for $60. So it means that my own investment is not paying off. So what we intend to do with the poultry sector is to develop a holistically, using the value chain approach. We will expand production of the local feed raw material, which is corn. We'll produce more corn. When we produce more corn, we will encourage investors to start processing our feed locally. If we can process local feed, poultry farmers will have access to feed at a lower cost, and they'll be motivated to go into production and make profit. Otherwise, we're not going to make it. Because you see, even though there are incentives, when the feed is imported, the price you pay for it is high. That does not motivate anybody to get into farming and stay there. So we'll do our best. Conflict of interest. When I'm confirmed, I am a farmer, a professional farmer, I will make my farm stay, but I will ensure that my farm does not benefit from any donor or government projects. I can use my income like I've been doing over the years. Income I will earn from my labor, I can invest it because I'm passionate about it. I want people to say I go to my farm on Saturday. I will not say I will leave farming. I will do it. But I will ensure that my farm does not benefit from any donor funder or government funded project. And I will be committed to that. But I will be a farmer still.
Thank you very much. One last thing I want to comment on. And in response to your statement about locally produced poultry feed, the corn, yes, is a major part of it, but there are other things needed, including the concentrate and the flour product. What if a certain owner of a flour mill decide to increase the price of the weight that the chicken feed on, and also open, with the intent to limit the local farmers? Because just as you mentioned, you cannot even break even from your own experience in producing eggs. So imagine when a portion of the feed price is hiking, because I, as the producer, have interest in producing eggs. So I've been limiting other farmers to participate in the sector. You need to look at that as the sector. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. There are always subsidies. The rice sector has a lot of major mills around here. If you see the wheat brand, when it becomes expensive, you can actually go to rice brand. I experienced that myself. So we will be doing our best. Again, one of the things that will be done here will be to see how effective the Ministry of Agriculture and Commerce can be effective in monitoring and regulating agricultural commodity prices in the market. That we will try to do. Those divisions of the ministry should be effective, so that the farmers and the producers will not be exploited by the buyers.
Okay, the great senator from Sano County.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Nominee, let me say congratulations again. We have preferred us. Let me begin with this. Will it be an overstatement if I said that the agri-sector holds a key to our food security and poverty alleviation?
No, sir.
No. Why do you say so?
You see, this country, Liberia has about 600,000 hectares of irrigable land. That means land that you can irrigate for production. Liberia also has more than 15 major rivers that you can actually use for irrigation purposes. So, with these two major resources, there is no reason why Liberia should not be able to produce sufficient food to take care of itself and export. But the problem has been limited investment in development of the infrastructure that support agricultural development. If you check around, you will realize that producers in Liberia, because of the absence of mechanization or irrigation facility development, we depend on these small farm hand tools for shaping cultivation and depend only on the rainfall. That kind of a production does not allow you to expand your production skill. So what we intend to do, honor our leadership and honor the leadership of His Excellency, the President of this country, is to expand and improve mechanization facility to enable us to produce what we eat. First, rice. So we are targeting over the next 5 years to reduce less importation by 50%, so that we can produce more of what we eat. And we will do that if we are only able to irrigate at least 100,000 hectares of land across this country and produce rice 2 times a year, which is possible. There are varieties, 90 days to 100 days you can grow rice and produce it. So if we are able to develop 100,000 hectares of low land for rice production, we will feed ourselves. And the strategy to do that will be to encourage commercial farmers. We are discussing with some people who want to come and engage in rice commercialization or mechanization of rice production. Those kind of farms will be producing at least 10 to 20,000 hectares. There are people who are already there who want to come. So when we were doing our own study, we know that there are 50,000 acres that are ready now, hectares that are ready now for production irrigation once we improve the facility. So we will encourage the large commercial farmers to establish a commercial farm and support all growers in their communities to produce rice. When we do that, we'll be able to be maybe 50% self-sufficient in rice over the next 5 years. And then gradually Liberia can actually be self-sufficient. It is a minimal requirement that we just set. On the other commodities, food commodities, like we talk about poultry. When we grow more corn, we encourage investors to come here and establish processing feed factory, more process feed to support our poultry sector. Because we can do it. We have the capacity to grow more cattle instead of importing live animals from Malay, Guinea, come here. We can do it ourselves. So we will support our farmers to be able to achieve those. And the key target would be, first of all, targeting West. I know there have been some efforts made by the previous government. We gave them the credit for that. But we want to build on those achievements and expand production to make sure that we are self-sufficient.
Thank you for that credit. And the mechanized farm you're talking about, are you referring to a state farm or private farm?
No, we are not looking at state farm alone, but we will be looking for opportunities where there can be some public-private partnership in some of the areas, because some of the infrastructure, some of the facilities that we have are actually owned by government. Also made some investment in the past in some of those areas. But the government role would be extensive in supporting the smallholder farmers to be able to scale up their production. We will do that. But we don't intend to have large-scale government farms which will lead to some inefficiency in management.
So from your assessment, what do you think has been a bottleneck for our inability or failure to produce food sufficiently for our consumption?
Again, it has not been resource constrained. I think one of the key challenges have been, maybe that's my personal bias, our inability to efficiently manage the resources that we had. Like I said here, I was able to review some of the projects that have been implemented by donors in the agriculture sector for 10 years. And that tells me that over 700 million US dollars have been spent in the agriculture sector from 2010 to 2020. I got a record here, about 685 million US dollars, 29.5 million euros on 20 projects implemented in the sector. And currently, from our experience with the agricultural sector of cluster work, we also realized that right now there are a current portfolio of over $270 million in the agricultural sector. Our target now is to see how we can realign the donor funding with our development priority. That's why we have made it our business to develop an agenda that will be transformed into a national agriculture development plan to be implemented over the next 5 years so that we can better align our development agenda with what funds are there. Our development partner who want to come and support us will be focusing on improving our capacity in where we want them to. That will be our intention. And we'll exert every necessary effort to make sure that is done.
So what data do you have on how much we spend on food importation, especially rice?
The data that I have, I think in 2023 last year, what I got from Commerce Ministry tells me that we spent 168 million US dollars on rice importation. A little over that. On rice importation alone.
So what will the former secretary say? The market women are going to Guinea, Sierra Leone, Ivory Coast, about pepper, bitter oil, and all these things. Is there any figure, any data for that?
Well, I do not have their figure, so I cannot say up there. But I realized that a substantial amount of what we see on the market is imported. Yesterday, I just did a little thing by myself. I was going home, then I stopped to the vegetable selling goods along the road there to buy. I was just trying to find out the source or the sources of what they were selling. I mean, it was interesting to know that even the watermelon that we eat is imported. The tomato that comes here is imported. The avocado is imported. The orange that we saw, majority of them are imported. This is why in our plan we intend to target those areas holistically. We want to make sure that we can reorientate our local farmers and capacitate them to be able to produce what we eat. And we depend on the support from you. We want to be talking with the Minister of Finance when he's confirmed during the budgeting process. We want to put in actual money in the budget to support production. And we expect the Honorable House of Representatives and Senate houses to be able to ask us for progress report. That will commit to doing that. If we spend $1 in the sector, we should be able to account for it. And we promise that we will do that.
And you're talking about agricultural value chain.
Yeah.
And I think that is key.
Yes.
We are aware that we produce some rice in the country, local rice in our country. But that's not good. We don't have a market per se for our locally produced rice, probably because of the quality. We would prefer the imported rice to locally produced rice because of the thing that it's not of the standard of quality as that of the imported rice. Have you considered that as well in your planning as to how to add value to make it competitive so that our people accept the locally produced rice for consumption?
Honorable Senator, thank you for that question. You know, And I always dispute that fact that Liberians don't eat what is produced locally. I personally produce rice, and I know the quality of rice that I produce. The reason why Liberians would prefer to buy the imported rice is the cost difference. You know, I did a value chain analysis that took me across the country, and I went to look for the only place I saw that the locally produced rice was cheaper than the imported one was in local country. In 4 years, I stayed in 4 years for 1 week, and I ate locally produced rice. Everybody went for it because while the locally produced rice was sold for $30 for a cup, the imported one was $50. So if you see that, consumer preference.
Why is that so?
Because in local country we produce more rice, and then the cost of transporting rice from Monrovia to Lofa is huge. Before you get there, the price will increase. So farmers will prefer to eat what they have. It's not because of quality. I have seen it in Lofa, in NEATAH County, in Bond County. If you went to Bond County, for example, the country rice, now we call the Liberian rice, we call country rice. At the time I did the survey, you'll find it from $50 to $70 for a cup because it's not in abundance. And you'll find the imported rice cheaper, so they'll prefer to buy the imported rice, not because of poor quality. I've always argued against that because I know myself that's not true. But it doesn't mean that we cannot improve on the quality of our rice. This is why we need to do our best to improve it through the value chain approach. We have to improve our processing facilities so that when the people produce rice, they will not be processing it locally, manually, right? In our rural communities, they put the rice in the bottle and paste it and pound it. And when you do that, there are possibilities that the sand and the environment will stay in it. So right now, most of the projects will supply you rice milling machine along with a de-steamer. I have it in my facility. So what has happened now, everybody who is in the community that produces rice, they come to mill their rice. And it works well. So we can do more of those and establish processing facility in community to support our rice producing region. And that is part of our plan. That's why we talk about machinery hub in the main production area to grow. But the key issue has been the lack of sufficient party on the market. We are not producing more. That's the main thing.
Okay, so where is carrying in all of this? I didn't hear about carrying.
Your time is finished.
Okay, yeah, answer my question. Where is carrying in all of this?
So
That should be out of the sector.
Yeah, carry is one of our key priorities. To make carry more efficient, we need to have effective people at the institution. So we will be discussing with His Excellency on ensuring that we hire people at carry based on meritocracy. When you have the right people who have the right connections, they will be able to do the right thing. Because there is no way agricultural development under our regime or our leadership will do well in the absence of an effective research and effective extension service delivery.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Me?
I need a co-chair. Yeah, you did it live. The co-chair. Chair, distinguished Senator, the nominee.
Honorable Chair, distinguished Senator, to the nominee, as I go through your CV, asking you questions on the CV will just be a regular academic work.